Welcome to Indie Film Podcast. I'm Victoria.
And I am Chuck. So, Victoria, you've made a movie. You've done all the work, put it up online. It's available to stream, but nobody is watching it. What happened?
Well, Chuck, before we get into the number one thing that indie filmmakers forget to do for their films, I'd like to first thank our sponsor for this week, Spark of Madness Film Festival, which will be happening at the Bengal Theater in Pocatello, Idaho, May 21st through the 23rd, 2026.
Victoria, do you have a weird movie to submit to film festivals?
I think you know that I do.
Are you a fan of freaky films and peculiar pictures?
Absolutely.
Well, the Spark of Madness Film Festival is your premier international indie film fest, specializing in eccentric, inspired films from the Rocky Mountains and beyond. That wasn't supposed to be a Ghost reference, but it kind of sounded like it. It's just geographically large. Submissions are now open, starting as low as $5. Go to sparkofmadnessfilmfestival.com to enter to buy tickets. That's sparkofmadnessfilmfestival.com or Spark of Madness Film Festival on Instagram, Spark of Madness Film Festival. That extra one was a bonus.
I like it. Okay. I like it.
So thanks for sponsoring us. Do you have a question for me, Victoria?
I do, actually. Chuck, just throwing this out there. What does the marketing plan for most of your films look like?
Well, it's usually not a plan. It's more of a disaster recovery.
Would it make you feel better to know that most indie filmmakers do not even slightly consider marketing at all, and that is the number one reason that their films are not getting streamed?
That totally makes sense. Should we talk, before we get into indie filmmakers and what you all can do to hopefully get your film in front of more people, as well as the mistakes that we've made? Obviously,
we've made a lot.
We have films online that don't have a huge amount of viewership, but we're learning.
Yeah.
Just like all of you out there. Should we talk about some famous films and what they've done?
I think that's a fantastic idea, because I don't want to imply that it's only indie filmmakers that screw up the marketing for their films, right? Like, big studios screw them up often.
Oh, for sure.
So I think it's important to call out some famous films that have maybe, tossed the baby out with the bathwater, insert other terrible euphemism that probably shouldn't still be used in modern day, but we do.
Right on. Do you have an example of somebody that was famous that totally beefed
I do.
their promotion? What do you got?
I mean, there are tons to choose from. Let's be honest. There are a lot to choose from. My favorite one was actually very recent, though.
Okay.
So A24's re-release of... Please don't let me pronounce this wrong. But you know what? If the marketing had been better, I would know how to pronounce it better.
There it is.
So it's Ninja 2.
Okay.
I believe.
Right on.
And it's a sequel. It was released originally in February, but it was subtitled. It is a foreign film.
Okay.
Internationally, a huge success. This film performed exceptionally well.
Okay.
Across the rest of the world. Domestically in the US in February, the subtitled version did fine. And so then they made a dubbed version that they just released in August, I believe, of this year. And none of the marketing included anything about how, hey, now you can see this film in English, because we know the American audiences don't always want to read subtitles. So we've, no shade, just statistically speaking, the subtitles don't perform exceptionally well all the time.
Yeah.
But I mean, they had Michelle Yao as one of the voice actors for this. It was a beautiful film. It was so empowering, and all the marketing hinged on, come see the international spectacular film.
Yeah. So this was already a successful movie.
Yeah.
Everywhere. They bring it to the United States. Boom. Flop.
Absolutely. It opened at, I have this number, 1.5 million, making it the worst wide release opening premiere weekend for 2025 so far. And it was A24, which has the knowledge.
A lot of people know that studio because they make some pretty decent indie films.
Yeah.
Because they're technically outside of Hollywood.
Yeah.
But at the same time, their studio's pretty huge. So
and expanding and growing, and their entire model is really cool. But they obviously know how to market films.
Yes.
They have done a wonderful job marketing other films. They gave no information about the plot. They gave no information about the actual history and lore and legend that this entire film is based on. It's very popular outside of the U.S., but nobody in the U.S. knows what the story is.
Yeah.
So it just got destroyed to be fair, it was also released the same weekend that they did the K-pop Demon Hunters sing-along.
Okay.
So they
so
were
that was
already
another international. Well,
Netflix film that
Okay.
released in theaters with a sing-along version. So, which was a cool marketing ploy because Netflix knew everybody loves this soundtrack.
yeah.
It's sort of pulled The Greatest Showman, where movie is okay, but man, that music's killer.
Right on.
So, yeah, a lot of that international intrigue and excitement around, especially the anime style animation, and it's from Sony Animation Studios, so they know how to animate things very well. It's a beautiful film,
Yeah. But they marketed it.
but they marketed it.
Yeah.
They knew what they were doing.
So just because your famous film or a large company produces a film and the movie gets traction everywhere else, you can't skimp on making sure you get your message out there because people need to know that your movie exists.
They need to know it exists. They need to know kind of what it's about, and they need to know why they want to see it. More on that know what it's about thing later. But for a film that's all about a heritage that is not the majority heritage in America, yeah, you need people to know what it's about.
Well, you look at a movie like Parasite, they did spectacularly.
Oh,
Great movie if you've
yeah.
never seen it. Was
killer
that
movie.
A24? I forget which studios make which movies, but great movie. Internet. I watch it with subtitles because I hate overdubbing.
Weren't they the ones that did Anora as well?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, because, man, these are the things I need to make sure I look up before I just say them on the internet, because then somebody's going to tell me I'm wrong. But I'm pretty sure they're the same people that did Anora.
Yeah.
And, yeah, so they're very indie, completely outside.
But great movie. And so it's not, the language barrier is not, although Parasite is kind of about something that we experience here in the United States as well. It's not like there's no cultural difference to overcome there. Really, it's more of in the minutia.
Yeah,
So,
but it's almost the way that Brave looks at some Scottish heritage, or Mulan looks at Chinese heritage. It's similar in that sense, where you can find a way to tell the story
yeah,
without completely whitewashing or minimizing the culture, but you can get people hyped about learning about a different culture while seeing this phenomenal film.
yeah. So marketing still need to do it in a big film. I have an example that I thought was really interesting that I didn't know about at all because I was doing a deep dive on marketing and which films have done well in the past. And I didn't realize this, but Alfred Hitchcock in the United States popularized showing up to a movie on time. And prior to Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho, people basically in the United States would show up to a film, like they go into the movie theater, and a lot of movie theaters would just keep the film rolling over and over again on repeat. And so they'd let people walk in right in the middle of it.
Oh.
And then people could catch it from the middle and then stay
past the credits until the opening sequence starts again, and they watch the first half.
And that's where that quote comes from. Well, this is where I came in. People would leave the theater halfway through the movie because they started it at the midway point. And that's why a lot of those old movies too, they'll have expository dialogue right in the middle of it to get the audience up to date on what had happened previously so they can follow the plot even if they came in 20, 30 minutes late.
That's wild.
The issue with Psycho, Hitchcock's Psycho, was that obviously Act 1 is a misdirection. And so I think I'm allowed to give spoilers on a movie that came out in 1960. But Psycho,
I think you're very, very safe to give spoilers for this. At this point, if you haven't seen Psycho, I know I'm including myself in that. If you haven't seen it, that's on you. You've had a chance.
Yep. Sorry. So I'm going to spoil it for you, Victoria. But Psycho, fantastic movie. Basically, the first act is a misdirection where you think the movie is about a woman stealing money, but then she goes to the Bates Hotel and she ends up getting murdered, and it's actually about the psycho.
Yeah.
In the story.
Norman Bates, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
and Norman Bates is the psycho. The actor is Anthony Perkins, who plays Norman Bates, but the misdirection, and then obviously M. Night Shyamalan with his twist endings, Psycho was a much better version of the stuff that M. Night
I don't
Shyamalan
know.
does.
I mean, Old had such a twist.
It did. Old was... People get old on an island. If you haven't seen Old, actually, it's really funny. I really like that movie.
You know what the
because I laughed.
twist for Old was, in my opinion? The twist for Old was that, yeah, you did pay money to see that. I hope you're happy with yourself.
Just 90 minutes of expository dialogue.
So bad.
I loved it. So anyway, so Alfred Hitchcock was concerned about, in the United States, about the propensity for audiences to just come in the middle. And if they did that in his film, it would ruin the story.
Yeah.
So he developed, or the studio, I would imagine, developed an entire ad campaign about if you don't show up on time to the start time of this film, we're not going to let you in. And the theaters were very upset about that because they were worried it was going to turn people away and they would end up losing business. But because of the marketing campaign, everybody got really excited about it. And the theaters ended up doing really well because they would get a line of people, or as they say in Great Britain, a queue of people going around the outside of the theater waiting to get in to see Psycho because they knew that they needed to show up on time. And then when people would drive by, they'd see a line of people outside the theater and they're thinking, what's going on in there? I need to know more. So it was actually very advantageous for the theaters to make it. They limited demand on their own, just like freaking toy companies do every single Christmas, pretending they don't have enough toys for the kids.
They limited supply. While also increasing demand.
Yes, they limited supply. Sorry, I'm not an economist, clearly. So they limited this. They limited the supply of people. Obviously, the seats are the same, but the time was constrained, so it helped out a lot. And I thought that was kind of cool.
And that also goes right into one of the biggest things that marketers lean into now is FOMO, right? If you're not there on time, you're not getting in, and you're going to miss the movie. Everyone's going to be talking about it, but you're left out.
If you're over 40, FOMO means fear of missing out. I had to look that up a couple years ago. I didn't know what it was. I'm like, FOMO. I thought it was like some type of new clothing, like FUBU. I'm like, FOMO? Does that like athletic shoes?
It's like FIFO.
Yeah.
But that's first in, first out. And if you've ever worked in a kitchen, which as an indie filmmaker, odds are good that you have either as a server or in the kitchen itself. You know, first in, first out. That's how you handle inventory.
But yes, FOMO is for real. Do you have any other examples to share, famous?
Of marketing? Actually, I had one more that I thought was more of a success because I talked about one failure, and I don't want to be a complete negative Nancy because I know sometimes when it comes to marketing, it feels like a huge uphill battle and you don't even know where to start, and it's really daunting. And so I wanted to give a happy one too.
Nice. Hopefully one that didn't cost millions of dollars because that's not in an indie film budget usually. Usually
not. It's more of the style of marketing that they went for. And it's almost like a grassroots guerrilla style marketing. And it was done before Longlegs. So don't worry, I won't be mentioning Longlegs yet again. Though Longlegs did also do this on their campaign. I know I keep talking. Their marketing was so good.
It was.
I mean, Nick Cage markets everything himself. So there you go. There's your marketing campaign for your next indie film. Get Nick Cage. He says yes to like everything anyway, so it's fine.
I don't think he needs to go bankrupt again, and then maybe he'll start picking up some of those oddball films.
Then he'll do the weird stuff
If you go through his library, they are fantastic when he was going broke, some of those movies.
They're so good. So the idea was to create mystery, intrigue, and the feeling of missing out.
Yeah.
Where there's this big secret. It's going to be revealed. And unless you're in the theater to watch it, you're not going to know. And they did that beautifully all the way back in 2008 with Cloverfield, which
I do remember that, Cloverfield.
Yeah. And their marketing campaign was brilliant because they would have these video campaigns and print ads and billboards that were just a date. It had nothing, or a glitchy kind of date, and that's all you knew was just something was happening on this day, which, with people's propensities to have like the world ending in 2012 or whatever and all that jazz, like just telling people a date immediately sends them into kind of an emotional state where they want to learn more and they want to find out what's happening. So that was brilliant. They created fake MySpace page profiles for the characters.
Oh, nice.
And then had them interacting and messaging with people. I'm assuming it wasn't the actual actors doing
Yeah,
that.
they wouldn't want to pay for that, I would imagine.
No,
That'd be expensive.
I'm sure it was their marketing team
Yeah.
doing it. But then suddenly they're these real people that you're going to get to find out their story and what happened to them when you watch the movie, but only when you watch the movie. And it was brilliant because the movie was awful. It
Yeah.
was a terrible movie. And it
I will
was
second
just,
that. Cloverfield was bad.
it was so bad.
It was like they were trying to keep that marketing like, what is this? Because they never really show the monster. So
Well, I'm
everybody's...
not going to fault them. I think that was the best part of the film.
Oh,
That they really don't reveal the monster because your imagination is so much worse. So everybody's imagining something absolutely horrific. And I loved
Yeah.
that about the movie.
well, it was also 2008. And I feel like the issue there is like that was still in the era of big cinema where you could only see, like Batman or The
Yeah.
Dark Knight came out
Yeah.
that year too, and they have large explosions. Everything seems grand. People have been used to that since the 90s with Jurassic Park and The Matrix, and they zagged, which interesting way to do it, but it was also like, come on, like where's Godzilla?
We want to see the monster. We
Godzilla
wanna
White.
know.
No, it's like the
but I-
RC Cola to Godzilla's Coke.
Yeah, kind of. The RC Cola's maybe better.
Okay.
I like RC. It's because they got the Lunchables contract when I was a kid. Back when Lunchables still had sodas in them. Which
Oh,
should tell
nice.
you how old I am.
Right on.
But yeah, I fell in love with RC Cola then. It was so good.
Well, they're actually called Diet Right products. I remember I went out to eat
Yeah.
somewhere and I was like, do you guys have Coke or Pepsi? And they said, we have Diet Right products. I thought, oh, okay, well, all right.
I don't know what that
I'm
means.
glad I brought my own Shasta to this joint. So anyway,
So for a film that was like found footage, but done so poorly that it was like actually made people sick in the theaters and
Yeah.
just so bad, poorly done film, rough story, still made $40 million opening weekend in January 2008. It held the record for top opening January weekend for quite some time.
I bet.
Yeah.
And then
They-
it just dipped off. All the sales dipped off immediately.
Once you saw the movie, everybody was like, oh no, it was terrible. Don't see that. So like, it helps if your movie's good too. But
Yeah.
the marketing campaign got people in the door. So even
Yeah.
if your movie's bad, get a good marketing campaign and people too will watch your movie.
You can pull the rug out from underneath everybody that comes to watch it.
It's great.
Just like every single Marvel movie. There we go. There I go again. There I go again. Do you have anything else or should we ruin a cinephile's day?
Yeah, let's ruin a cinephile's day.
Do you want to start this week or should I?
Up to you. I feel like I was just talking a lot about Cloverfield.
Okay, well, I'll get started. And if you're unaware of this, we take these Ruin a Cinephile Day audio segments and then we post them as vertical videos on the internet and we see what kind of fun comments we can get. So you can go back. We had a couple episodes where we said some things about Marvel and we said some things about whatever, but you can see what people say online. This is just our marketing efforts to try to get our podcast
this is just marketing
in front of
because
people. And we're not saying things that we actually
Well-
believe. Sometimes we are. Well, let's do it. And then everybody can judge. And then you can see what the vertical video reaction is on the internet. So here's mine. And it's going to be related to Psycho.
beautiful.
After his famous role, Anthony Perkins said that he did not mind being stereotyped forever as an on-screen weirdo because he would rather be stereotyped and be remembered forever for the classic movie than not be remembered at all. So I think that's a good thing to keep in mind for famous people. But also, who is Anthony Perkins and what movie was he in?
Oof. Well, if you can't be famous, be infamous. Unless you apparently can't be either.
Yeah.
Rough.
Yeah. Well,
Sorry.
that was obviously main star of Psycho. But
Yes.
at the same time, like 1960, I don't think he's going to live on forever. Sorry, guy.
I mean, the character was iconic.
True.
I just don't know if people are going to remember Anthony Perkins or if they're going to remember Norman Bates.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Well, he is Norman Bates. That's
yes.
the thing.
But not in the Netflix series, Hulu series, HBO. There was a TV series called The Bates Motel.
Oh, that's right.
It was actually good. I liked it.
never watched it.
I really liked it a lot.
You
I've
watched-
seen that,
you
but I
watched
haven't
the
seen
series-
Psych. I know.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
That's okay.
It's because I watched other Hitchcock films and I was trying to catch up, and there's only so many hours in a day that I can spend watching movies after a very sheltered childhood. I apologize.
That's okay. You'll get caught up eventually.
I will. I will get there. It's
You'll
just going
get
to
to
take
see
me some time.
all the R-rated movies that you missed out on.
the important things in life.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, this one is a little bit harder because this ruined a cinephile's day, unlike the other ones. This one I actually do believe. I don't think I would phrase it this way normally because it's a little harsh.
Well, do it. Let's piss me off.
Okay. All right. Good marketing matters more than a good film. And I get that nobody wants to hear this, but if your film didn't catch on, it isn't because nobody got your art or that it was too elevated for the common man. It's because you failed to find your audience and you did a poor job on the marketing. It's not Field of Dreams. Just because you built it, they aren't coming. You have to go find them. And yes, it does suck that it's on your shoulders as a filmmaker to also be a marketer, but it is.
Ouch. That's
I'm
so
sorry.
True. Should we talk about what we've done wrong?
Where do we start?
Yeah. So I tried to come up with an analogy. Not that marketing has ever been done correctly on the projects that I'm on, except for, I will say, this podcast, we do make the effort to ensure that we're posting regularly on social media. You're using the correct titles and hashtags for all of our episodes, which is why this is the first project I've been involved in online that has started to see followers. Thank you all for tuning in, and hopefully we're giving you messages that you all can relate to as indie filmmakers.
I really hope so. I hope that it's filled with information that you don't make the same mistakes that we did, and at least it's mildly entertaining along the way.
Yeah.
But thanks for listening.
And so we're since January, we started this January 2025, and this has been an ongoing process for me learning how to do it. And one way I think of it now is like a shot list. So if you go on set without a shot list, which we've talked about that in previous episodes, you know, after you've been experiencing that situation, you know that it's going to be slower and it's going to come out worse if you don't have a shot list. It's better to put that prep work in there. Yeah. And that's kind of how I think about marketing, right? If you don't spend the time early on figuring out how to market things, then you're going to, like, it's an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
Yeah.
Right. So you're going to end up putting a whole bunch of work on the back end, just like fixing it in post. You're going to have to spend time trying to figure out how to get your project in front of people's eyes rather than having a plan from the get-go.
Not to mention you're going to be stuck trying to create all these assets without being immediately available to create the content that you need. If you wanted to post any behind the scenes stuff, but you didn't ever bother to take photos behind the scenes, that's not really something you can go back and recreate once you're done filming. You just miss out on a lot of these beautiful moments that are easy marketing content to at least share your film, its message, your creative process, all that jazz. You missed it. You missed the boat. And that's kind of sad.
And that's one of the things. So the project that I most recently participated in that's streaming on Amazon is Stockton to Table Rock. I've mentioned on this podcast a lot.
Yes.
And I do want to mention that we kind of had a behind the scenes photographer. And what we did was we had our friend Wyatt. Thank you, Wyatt, for taking some BTS photos. He was actually an associate producer. So for most of the day, he was running around doing things, but he also had his camera on him. And one of the things that I would do as boom op as well, since I was close to people, is I used my phone as my clapper, because there's apps online that you can get to use it as a slate.
Yeah.
Because we don't use time code, which is also another issue that'll save you time in post. But we didn't use time code in Stockton to Table Rock, and so I was using my clapper board, and I would take my phone to get BTS pictures. So we never really had solid BTS to be able to promote the film while we were shooting it.
Yeah.
On top of that, you always make time for DIT at the end of the day, and it's very important to make sure that you try to, if you can. We didn't have the budget. Like, that's one thing that affected us in Stockton is trying to find volunteers to take good pictures.
Yeah.
Didn't have that on all the days. So anyone that took pictures, thank you very much. But having the budget to do that is super important, and taking the time, if you don't have a BTS photo taker at the end of the day, to be like, hey, like, let's organize these, or at the end of the shoot while you're working on the movie in post. It would have, in hindsight, been nice to have those assets, go through them, and then make a schedule to be able to release them online to build a little bit more excitement for the film.
And that is one thing that you can do during the edit. I know it's an extra step during your edit, and a lot of people don't love it, but it's one thing I personally love doing so that I always know where to find it. Whenever I come across, this is in Premiere, I'm assuming you'd be able to do this in DaVinci too. I don't know though, sorry. when I have all my different sequences and I'm going through and just watching every single take to kind of compare to the scripty notes and then add my own editor notes to as well. When I roll through it, if there's ever a really funny moment or something kind of silly and goofy that happens,
Oh, nice.
I copy that whole sequence and paste it onto, or I copy that footage and audio collection. So I'll copy those files and paste them into a new sequence that I have labeled as either blooper reel or BTS or fun moments or whatever my brain decided to call it that day.
Yeah.
It's usually blooper because I think that's a delightful word. Even if they aren't like blooper reels, if it's just like a really powerful or cool moment that happened on set, something really inspirational or motivational, the camera started rolling early and you caught the director giving a pep talk to somebody, whatever it is, just throw it into a separate sequence or timeline so that way you know it's there. And then when you need to go create assets for social media, you've got all of them all right there. All you got to do is slap a LUT on that and you're good to go.
Oh, nice. That is a really good idea.
That's a really easy way to cheat.
You're already touching the footage.
Yeah.
Touch it once.
Yeah.
Don't touch it twice and go back through it again and try to think to yourself, oh, I remember there was a cool behind the scenes moment. When was that?
Yeah, do not tell yourself that you're going to remember when that light fell on that one person or whatever.
So
no, you
easy
won't.
oh yes, I love it when lights fall on people. Striking.
Specifically talking about dive.
I remember that because all I have to do is look at the insurance claim and then I know which day that was. So
know
we'll
which
just line
day
up
and location.
with the footage on that one. So the other thing that I've learned from you, which is really cool, that we screwed up on our feature film Stockton to Table Rock, was a branding guide. So before we started this podcast, Victoria pulled me aside and we basically spent a day choosing colors, choosing fonts. And I was thinking to myself, oh my gosh, this is a whole bunch of work. But the nice thing is once that's done, you don't have to think about it because whenever I'm cutting together a vertical video or trying to figure out, I don't have to figure out any fonts.
No.
So all I do is look at the branding guide and it's like, okay, well, for the background color, I have these options and I don't have to use any brain processing to, use my horrible graphic design skills to try to come up with something. It is already there. And that's something that we didn't do on our feature film because we thought it would be cool to have the lead actress Zoe's handwriting as the font for the movie. And we do like how that turned out.
I was like, and don't get me wrong, that is such a cool artistic choice and really awesome that you had the technical prowess to scan her writing the whole alphabet, getting the capital and lowercase letters for everything, scan it, turn it into a font that you have created. That is a cool asset to create and just a cool tech thing that you can do.
Yeah.
But not having even the Stockton to Table Rock, the title written as you then needed it to appear on the poster, it was never turned into a vector file to let you really resize it easily.
Yeah.
And it was never converted. That wasn't even in the font. That was just Zoe wrote Stockton to Table Rock in a certain arrangement.
Yeah.
And that went on the poster. So cool, so pretty, so artistic, so impractical if you need to resize anything because you can't. You can't move what words are on what line.
And as you heard previously, we ended up getting dinged with quality control where they found that the title was illegible. So we ended up having to throw that out for our Amazon poster,
which is kind of heartbreaking because it was really cool.
We thought it was cool, but the thing is now moving forward, we're working on a horror feature, which you are helping guide us in our marketing efforts. So thank you very much, Victoria. But we did take the time early on to make a branding guide, and now if we're going to make some assets or we're going to share something that's related to this upcoming film, all I need to do, or all anyone needs to do then, because it's easier to outsource, is let's look at the branding guide. Use this font, or this font. Use this color, this color, this color, and you're good to go.
And having even just a few keywords for your brand voice and your overall aesthetic is very important as well. Something like our voice is funny, relatable, or our voice is dramatic, but professional, but informative, or kind, but cheeky, or think Wendy's ads on social media, right? If you want to be insulting to people. You can choose whatever your voice is, but as long as you have it set somewhere and just those notes for your whole team to see, that way when you start making copy for anything, everybody gets to be on the same page about it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of nice. And honestly, Having succinct branding elevates your project immediately. When you go to somebody's Facebook page or Instagram page or whatever for their movie, and you're looking at all these images and everything is all over the place. You've got a bunch of like neon 80s looking stuff in one because that was trending for a while. And then the next thing you see is something super pastel and chill. And it's like, what is this movie? It's all over the place. It just makes you look better. It makes it look more appealing and exciting. And it gives the appearance that, yes, time and effort went into this film, which it did. As a filmmaker, you know that. But not everybody gets to see that. So having that succinct, tight branding just clarifies everything and makes it look a lot more credible to investors. So
yeah, that's good. And from my perspective, when you don't have an enormous team yet that's helping out, it takes the cognitive effort off of me when I've already had to try to figure out how to cut a vertical video in an interesting way, or how, if we're working on shot listing or editing something, that takes a lot of brain power. And I don't like to put my brain power in branding. It's something that I don't enjoy doing. So being able to offload that, put the work in ahead of time, just copy and paste or cut and paste from the branding sheet, and you're going to be good to go.
Yep.
Follow those rules, and you're going to save yourself time and a lot of headaches later on.
And honestly, you can start from somewhere so small, and there are so many resources online. Just Google color palette picker or something along those lines. And I think even Sherwin-Williams or Behr, one of the paint companies, has one. I know Pantone has one. Canva has one if you already use Canva.
Yeah.
I think Adobe has one now too because their Express is trying to compete with Canva so hard. All you have to do is pick one color.
Shoehorning another product. Sorry, I'm going to get tangential there. Adobe just shoehorning some other random product that you have to use.
I don't know. I've found Express to be very easy to use for scheduling social media posts because I don't want to do it manually.
Oh, yeah, that is nice. Express, if you have Adobe, that was something I had to learn too. If you have an Adobe membership, you can schedule your social media posts with Express, which is nice.
That is nice. Because then if you built the assets in there, they're already stored in there anyway. So it's kind of convenient that I don't have to re-upload everything too. I do like that.
Just one more of their apps to work into your workflow.
I know. I'm not thrilled about it, but I do like the convenience. Either way, start with one color, pick your favorite color, just get the little hex code for that, and then throw it into any of those color palette pickers, and it's going to give you options for, do you want complementary? Do you want contrasting? Do you want bold statement stuff? And you just choose. It'll just lay it all out there for you. You don't have to be a graphic designer, though, if you've got the budget to invest in one, definitely do. But if you don't, pick your color palette, stick to it. Everything will look fine.
Agreed. Do you have anything you want to share about your early marketing mistakes that you've made in your past?
I think back to my first Kickstarter campaign in 2011.
And what happened there?
Oh, it was terrible. I thought that sharing it and getting the word out was posting about it once on Facebook.
Nice. You should make you thousands of dollars.
Obviously. We had a video on there, promo video. It was a 4-minute long video. Probably not the best. I guess watch time spans were a little bit longer then. You didn't need just 30 seconds to get somebody's attention or else you lose them. But 1 whole minute of that video was just black at the end because there was something on the timeline that didn't get cut right.
Nice.
So
No quality control there.
No QC.
I've done that at jobs. Every once in a while I get so embarrassed because
I did one frame somewhere way down. Yeah.
I did it actually. I did it once on a professional gig, and it's embarrassing. And for any of you out there, you've felt my pain. It's not fun when you send them something and you forget to double check the export because you're like, I already checked it in the timeline. You kick it out and you're like, this 30-second video ended up being 5 minutes long. What the heck's going on there?
No, it's definitely not great. So I learned a lot from that one. I will say, even from the get-go, though, even on that campaign, we never promised anyone any form of ownership of the film, which I would encourage everyone else to do too. Like if you're going to run a crowdfunding campaign and you want to offer something to people, I wouldn't offer them ownership as a donor.
Yeah.
As like a producer, you could offer them a special thanks, but I wouldn't label them as a producer unless you're actually in contact with them and you can get a written contract that you both sign and hopefully your own legal team has already approved. So I thought that was the one thing we did right on that campaign. The rest of it, real bad. All over the place.
How much
no
money?
Branding. I think we ended up actually getting maybe $200 or $300.
Oh, nice. Score.
Yeah, but definitely not the $5,000 we were looking for.
Oops.
My bad.
Sometimes those Kickstarters fall short, which we talked about before.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else to add before we do some updates for people?
I think I was going to chat a little bit about
The newsletter?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, The Man Who Would Not Shake Hands. Yeah, do that.
So The Man Who Would Not Shake Hands is finally available on YouTube.
Yes.
The only place that I have even announced that is on this podcast.
Oh, yeah. That's
And
true.
it's been up for a few weeks now, 2-3 weeks now.
Yeah,
A
sounds
little while.
about right.
Yeah. And it's already got over 1,000 views. So I'm going to throw that in as a shameless plug for marketing your films if you would like. But it also helps that it's a Stephen King dollar baby. And I made sure to use the appropriate keywords and tag your YouTube videos. There's a separate place to manually input your video tags, and it is separate from your channel tags, which you should also fill out.
Yeah.
That's just a random marketing suggestion blurb
Show
that you
more.
should be doing.
On that very first page where it says enter your title and description, click show more at the bottom and it scroll down. Now you have to check that there is not any AI modifications. You check the no box on that if there's no AI modifications, and then insert more tags in that hidden menu, and it will boost.
It will boost your
Your post.
visibility substantially. So make sure you're doing that.
Because we were running into that with this podcast where the streams were low on certain short videos where it was in like the hundreds or something, and you basically kick that up about tenfold by making sure that we were doing the tags in each video. So,
which is ridiculous, YouTube, if you're listening. It's a little ridiculous.
Yeah, it's just such an old platform. They haven't updated anything. So
Yeah, and they won't. So that
if
would
you
be
want to
my...
have your film featured, you can go to indiefilmpodcast.com. I was going in my brain to my old podcast, which is now just collecting dust on the internet. But indiefilmpodcast.com, you can submit your film. We'll give you a shout out on this, or if you want your film festival sponsored like we did earlier, we can do that for you. And we also have a newsletter that will be coming out shortly. So if you want to go to indiefilmpodcast.com, there's a link to be able to sign up for that. We have some assets for people who sign up for the newsletter, such as
We have a shot list template that I personally still use and love. And then we also have an amazing Adobe Audition template.
Yeah, I just made a project file, an Adobe Audition file, a session file for how I process this podcast. So if you want to see how I run my compression, there's also a notepad file that goes along with it that explains how to drag and drop your audio into that. That is not the same as film audio. So if you all want to see how I process my film audio, hopefully at some juncture I'll be able to share how I process Dive, but Dive needs to be out first. So if you're interested in that, just go to indiefilmpodcast.com, shoot us a message, and we can get you that information.
Yeah, that way you can get free stuff.
Yeah.
So get free stuff.
Do we have any updates you want to go over with Dive?
I don't think so.
Okay, you got nothing? Sweet.
It's going to be at the Chicago Horror Film Festival, but I think I already mentioned that. Didn't I? I think I did.
I don't know. Well, it's going to be there.
It'll be there. And Indie Film Podcast will be there.
We'll be there as well. Yeah. So I'm excited to see that large festival. So we're going to do that. And I don't have anything else I need to cover. Do you have anything else you'd like to cover?
No, just Sundowning is kicking off soon with a gala fundraiser. So we'll let you all know how that goes on the topic of marketing.
Oh, yes. We're going to have a fundraiser and basically like a party, Halloween themed, and we're going to try to use that to get some excitement built around our next feature film, which is called Sundowning. It's a horror film,
and it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, it should be fun. So with that, succinct farewell.
Sounds wonderful.
Bye.
Bye.